Yeah.
Ryan's starting to smile.
I don't know what I said.
Wow. Oh, I'm in charge of this thing. I can't laugh too much.
It's funny as fuck.
This is shit that someone will clip and be like, "Look at these guys."
It's the music, man. Oh, I can't breathe.
Oh man.
Oh man. I'll piss my pants.
This is fucking Jay. I'm so mad.
Wow.
Oh, shit.
Oh my God.
Oh, fuck, dude.
Oh man, that's so great.
Yeah.
Jay, are
and,
you there right, bro?
He's still laughing.
I
Jay's
can't
dying.
hold it.
Fuck,
Jay, you're
Jay.
still laughing.
Jay's losing his shit, bro. Like, it's just...
Jeremy came.
I tried to hold it together. I was like,
I don't know why I can't stop laughing at this.
There you go.
Water.
Jay, drunk 3PO, unmute. God. What's wrong with Jay?
We are not affiliated, just so we're clear. What is up, people? We are live with
Hello there.
General.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, glad to be here.
And I'm glad to hear you. We have a lot to talk about. So, first off, I want to introduce, who are you?
So, Golden Age Geek. You can find me on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, talking about all things going on in pop culture, world news, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you're here. We're all glad you're here. So, what really woke you up, Golden Age Geek?
Woke me up to what specifically?
The woke, everything woke, like the wokeness.
Well, I think it has to. The main thing of that comes from, of course, pop culture, entertainment. All of our properties just go into absolute shit. And I mean, I think it was around 2019, around there. I mean, before I wouldn't consider myself an ultra woke person before then. It's just sort of you believe everything you're told. You don't really question that many things. But then as I looked over some of our franchises like, DC, Marvel, Doctor Who, and we were constantly being told that if we don't like this and that, then we're all these buzzwords that get thrown our way. You're a racist, sexist, all this stuff. And you begin to think like, well, no, that's not actually what I'm doing. So why are you accusing me of all this stuff? And then you go down the rabbit hole and you find out there's, all of these companies, affiliations with certain political groups, that sort of thing. And I think the main the main thing that actually just made me go, do you know what, I've had enough, is probably around 2020 when you had all the riots.
Yes.
And, just crime is in the street. You're seeing people getting beaten up, stores being looted. And then you go to the police and you're like, why are you not doing anything? And they're like, oh, well, we don't want to be racist. And it's like, no, not being racist. People are literally dying. You're doing nothing. So, that's the main bulk of it. And then after that, when your eyes get opened, you just see everything in a totally different perspective.
And you can't go back.
No, certainly not.
And my awakening was in 2016 with the election, really, with Trump. And my awakening to the cultural side, that the rot in the Hollywood and the culture, was in 2017 when I saw The Last Jedi in theaters. Unfortunately, I had the displeasure of seeing that, and that was such a terrible film.
Yeah, and the same thing sort of happened with me as well when I saw all these different films. But I didn't, as I said, I didn't really wake up to it as soon as I saw these films. I went through certain phases. So when I first watched The Last Jedi, or whatever it may be, I just felt total apathy. I didn't really feel anything. So I started thinking to myself, why am I feeling this way? What's sort of wrong with me? So then what I did is I went on YouTube and sort of looked up certain people who may feel the same way as I do. So to all these people on Twitter who just say things like, oh, you only believe this because so-and-so tells you to believe it, it's actually the other way around. I thought these things, thought I was alone in my opinion, and then sought out people who sort of believe the same thing as me. So that's where you find, your geeks and gamers and, just more sort of independent creators out there who are just speaking their mind.
Goes into our next question. How did you find Geeks and Gamers?
I believe that was also around 2019. The first person I found in the sort of fellowship, as we like to call it, I actually found as Hill versus Babyface verse. I think it's when the first Batwoman trailer came out, and I saw his reaction to that, and it made me laugh. So for a while, he was just the sort of big guy who just sort of made me laugh, and I always went back to his content. And then of course he appears on different live streams. So you sort of think, oh, who's Nerdrotic? Okay, I'll watch his content. Oh, this Jeremy guy, he seems to be a lot on this channel. I'll go watch him as well.
Yeah, first person I found was Jeremy, actually. Jeremy Griggs.
The boy, the man himself.
The man himself. And it was around 2020, around the era of the George Floyd riots. I found this channel called Geeks and Gamers, and I'm like, oh, I can resonate with them, They're seeing all this woke garbage as I do. And how long have you been doing YouTube, actually?
Well, I've been dipping in and out of it since around 2016, but then I properly started early last year, and I privated all my previous content because it wasn't linked to what I'm doing now. So, I wanted to build my brand around that. But yeah, I've been dipping my toes in and out of it for many years, but I probably started last year because, you see all these creators and you start to think, well, maybe I can do this for myself. You see how successful people can become by pursuing their passions. So I just sort of thought, right, I've watched these people. I feel like I've learned a lot, how to, different styles of video making. So I think I'll try it myself.
Definitely. And so what do you hope to achieve actually with this? Like, as part of the fellowship, what do you hope to achieve?
What do you mean in terms of content creating myself?
Yeah, I know one of the things we most strive for is the alternative. Yeah.
Well, I think it's inevitable at this point because, as you say, you can't really go back to that old way of thinking. No. Years ago, I used to watch YouTube channels like What Culture and all those sort of nerdy YouTube channels that aren't really, because once you start to look at these people, they don't actually have a passion for these franchises. They're just. And that when you watch the end of these people's videos and they've been written scripts by other people, it just feels like they're just robots. So people, of course, are going to go to sort of Geeks and Gamers or whoever it may be, who are actually just speaking their mind and not on behalf of someone else.
Yes, exactly. And that's the reason why we like these people. We talk about Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers. So Jeremy, Ryan, as Critical Drinker, Mahler, we like those because a lot of them are unscripted.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the main thing that draws people to their channels. It's just fully uncensored, just speaking from the mind, and that's what people want. Because people want to relate to other people. Because here's the thing, and here's the thing that you learn when you start doing videos like I've done, is that people don't necessarily watch your content for what it is you're talking about. So lots of people are talking about Marvel or DC. They're not
Yes.
subscribing to you for that content. They're subscribing to you because of your personality, you as a person. Like whenever I see a new video from Az or Gary, I don't watch like The Witcher or Marvel or whatever it is. So, you know, on paper I shouldn't be watching their videos, but I do because it's them and I like them as people.
Definitely. I'm just sorry if you hear that. That's probably my mom downstairs. If you hear the door. Yeah. What do you think your biggest inspiration is? I think we already went over that. You said it was Az.
Yeah. I mean, as a Brit myself, he sort of gives off that sort of relatable sort of humor.
Yeah. So as you can see from the title, we have just a brief story to cover before we get into the real meat and potatoes, the culture news. So we have this news coming straight here from the U.S. McConnell, the minority House Speaker, he had something happened to the poor guy.
Bipartisan cooperation and a string of
This, by the way, goes on for a couple of minutes.
Are you good? Mitch?
Okay, Mitch. Anything else you want to say, or should we go back to the press? Do you want to say anything else to the press? Okay.
Go ahead, John.
I'll take that. Let's go back to you.
Go ahead, John.
Could you address what happened here at the start of the press conference, and was it related to your injury from earlier this year where you suffered a concussion? Is that you find you're fully able to do your job?
Mr. Lear, can I just get you?
Okay, people, move along. There's nothing to see here.
bipartisan cooperation and a string of
Hello, IT. Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's not a normal thing that happens to people. That should be raising all sorts of alarms.
Yeah, I just wanted to go briefly into that before we get into the culture news, which I'll let you actually start. What do you want to get into cultural wise?
Well, I'm not sure. I'll let you sort of lead the way on
we
that.
have the big stuff on Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been doing quite a few videos about that.
I saw the most recent one, actually, your most recent video on the Barbie film about how Elon Musk.
Yeah. Yeah, so Barbie's a funny one because it seems like lots of people, particularly in the space that we hang around in, it's a film that's, you know, gone split right down the sort of fandom once again, like some other films, because you have some people who just really hate it, just can't stand it, but then you have other people who seem to be a bit more understanding of what it is they're trying to say to the audience, and then you have the other people who just dip down and they just like don't care enough to even talk about it. But yeah, so I saw, you know, obviously Gary just doesn't like it, but then Ryan said, oh, there is something there. And then you have Chris who says she likes it, Brittany Venti who says she likes it, but then other people like that Star Wars girl saying it's absolute trash, don't watch it. So it's a very funny phenomenon, and I never plan to see it myself. I mean, if I have it my way, I'm never going to see it, but I kind of feel like I do need to see it in a sense to sort of see where I stand on it.
I actually... So apparently Secret Invasion, that latest MCU product, it ended. And this, do you see on Nerdrotic's Twitter?
Yeah, the picture, yeah.
Yeah, oh my God. I didn't watch this. So
No.
You didn't watch it either?
No.
Oh God! And listen, Disney, they're really They're really going to get hit hard.
Yeah. I mean, they're losing millions of subscribers every single quarter.
Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out what we should, because I feel like, so the Snow White actress, this is from Bounding into Comics, which is a great source. Love them. So the Snow White actress, Rachel Zegler. I don't know how to pronounce this, okay?
I think it's pronounced Zegler.
Zegler. Thank you. Reveals live action film. Yeah, Zegler is changing the meaning of Fairest of Them All. Oh my God.
There's no way to change the meaning of that. It really is.
I saw. No. And you saw a couple of weeks ago or a couple of days ago, she said something. This isn't 1937 anymore. This is the modern audience thing.
Well, it just so happens that every single modern film flops because the modern audience doesn't exist.
Yes. Let's see. So let's read this. So Snow White actress Rachel Zegler confirmed that the upcoming live-action Disney film will be changing the meaning of Fairest of Them All. In the original Snow White, animated Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs film, the meaning of Fairest of Them All clearly responds to the evil queen and Snow White beauty. The film opens up with images from a storybook that read, "Once upon a time, there lived a lovely princess named Snow White." I swear, they're trying to Shrek parodied this back in 2001 when it came out. Shrek parody was a parody of this, and they're parodying themselves now.
Yeah, sometimes when you see this news come out, like whether it's on Twitter or whatever, I always check, like, is this a parody account? But it always turns out to be true, and it's more shocking.
Mm-hmm. I always have to check that. Let's see. Once upon a time, there lived a lovely princess named Snow White. Her vain and wicked stepmother, the queen, feared that someday Snow White's beauty would surpass her own. So she dressed the little princess in rags and forced her to work as a scullery maid. Like, what? And we obviously have the images. Do we even need to? Let me actually get up the Snow White images. You can read that if you want while I pull it up.
Would you want me to read it out?
You can, if you want to read the actual article, or if you want to pull it up so you could scroll down and read it.
Okay, I'll quickly get out.
Yeah, I'll share. You can share your. I think you can share your tab, right? You can share as well.
Yeah.
All right. Let me just look up the actual Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So yeah, I found it. Yes, actually, first, let's just remind the audiences this is what was leaked, and this is not a fake. There was like debate going back and forth. Is this a fake? Is it not? Nope, it is real apparently.
Oh, it's just awful. Like, it's so cheap and tacky. All the costumes it looks awful.
I remember someone wrote Snow White in the migrant caravan. Oh my God. But it's just, why do you need this? Why do you need this?
Yeah, and they're going to find out the hard way when they lose even more money.
They are going to. And you see what's going on with ABC. The Disney are thinking about selling ABC. You have the rumors inside the company. Disney might be selling to Apple. Like, I want to see what your take on that is. do you think it's real or just Doomcock nonsense?
Well, it's believable, obviously, because Disney is losing so much money. I mean, with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I think it's only made around, was it 400 million? And it needs to make close to like 900, so that's 500 million lost. And then you have the Galactic Star Cruiser, which was a monumental failure. And then you have all the other things, like the Little Mermaid, which although, shill sites like CBR are claiming that it has broke even, it hasn't. So there's a loss of money on that as well. And then you have millions of subscribers on Disney Plus just cancelling their subscriptions. So they are just really, and I believe they're in like 20 billion in debt or something. I believe that's something I saw on some article. So, I mean, it's believable that they would sell off some of their, IPs because, I mean, they're desperate. And I mean, as we've seen with the parks as well, like they're giving away tickets they usually cost around $150 for like 20. That's literally them crying out for help. Like they are desperate.
They are 100% desperate. I just can't. If you told me back in 2012 when Disney bought Star Wars, or in 2017 when they bought 20th Century Fox, that Disney would be having financial problems, I'd be like, what do you mean they've got stars? Or what do you mean they've now got the X-Men to add to the MCU? But it reminds me of and I'm not sure, I know you're a Brit, but are you a football fan? I like soccer football.
No, I'm not a fan of any sports in general, to be honest.
Well, I'm remembering a quote Jose Mourinho said about Juventus when it was second season Ronaldo was there. He said, Juventus have a nuclear weapon and they don't know how to use it. I mean, Disney pretty much had they pretty much had a nuclear weapon but didn't know how to use it with both of them.
Yeah, it's just wasted potential, and I think that's what's even worse, is that they can do so many great things, but they just refuse to because of their ideology. And I mean, back in the day, if there was like Disney Plus about 10, 20 years ago, it would be the dream, because whenever you saw a Disney film or show, whatever it was, you just automatically had the perception that it was just like perfect. You were going to literally go on an adventure. Like, when I was younger, when you put on a Pixar film, it's like, oh, here we go. Like something great's about to happen. But now you saw when they announce a new film, you go through a sort of mourning phase where you're like, oh no, another one of those beloved properties are going to be destroyed.
Yeah, like one of my favorite Disney films is The Lion King, and you saw a couple weeks ago, Disney said they want to turn the universe of the live action Lion King into a franchise. Like, what do you mean? Like, what are you going to do? I know you've got that Mufasa film. I don't expect that to do well. And I think it got pushed back because of the actor and writer strike. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, I didn't really know much about that Lion King remake, but yeah, you're probably right. It seems like all of these properties are being pushed back. Even ones that have gone through post-production, it's just the release is all just been pushed back as well, yeah.
Yeah, you've got Avatar and Sonic 3 Avatar 3 and Sonic 3 were supposed to release in December of 2024. Now it's going to be pushed back to like April of 2025, something like that.
God.
Yeah. And I remember, so I was on vacation last weekend. I was watching FNT, and I actually saw when Jeremy said Hollywood is collapsing, and then Odin's bookshelf fell.
Yeah. Perfect timing.
That was perfect timing. I mean, and you've got Ron Perlman of all people. Well, Hellboy himself, he seemingly went to a war of words with Bob Iger, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, and he had his meltdown on video where he's saying, we know where he lives. Like, oh God, Ron, what are you going to do? Like, someone help him.
Yeah, these people, they've been broken for a while. Well, they have been broken for a long time. And let's see, there's actually... This is the interview. This is an interview that was recently done with that actor.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow white that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
Oh my God. What? Like,
it's like the Charlie's Angels remake all over again. It's like in all the interviews, this is not for men. Men should not be seeing this. And then the articles come out, why are no men watching this? We've told them all to F off.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That is one of the reasons why. And I'm going to bet a lot of money that this is going to be a bomb. It's not going to do well.
Yeah, I mean, the evidence would suggest that with all the other movies that have been released.
Yeah, and then we have Sound of Freedom, which Disney could have released back in 2017 when they acquired Fox. Like 2017, 2018, they could have released it. Chose not to. Why is that?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost as if they got something to hide.
Oh, definitely.
Which they have got a lot to hide.
They definitely have. And actually, recently, I remember the Florida... there was a sting operation in Florida, and they had arrested this one guy who had lots of child abuse material on his computer, and he was working for Disney. Like, let me get it up. Arrest, like, Disney employee arrested. I'm going to try and find the Orlando. All right, here it is. This is, well, that's from last year, but this is a more recent one. And that I'm going to bring up. And it's just like they're targeting kids.
Oh, Val. He's 40 from Davenport. He's married. He works at Disney World at Cosmic Rays Restaurant. In fact, he just recently moved to Polk County from Indiana, and he moved here specifically to work at Disney World. Well, you know, back in the day, they arrested Willie Sutton for robbing banks. He was a notorious bank robber. And they asked Willie Sutton, hey, Willie, why do you rob banks? And he said, well, that's where the money is. Well, why do people like Paul Vale work at Disney? Because that's where the children are. And they want to be around children. He had 540 counts of child pornography from newborns to 8 years of age. He also had videos. And he was a sadomasochist. There was photographs where they had tied up babies in preparation for sexual battery. There was one where a child was just weeks old. Where they
I've listened to this, and it's hard to listen.
It's awful. Yeah, really. I mean, you know, you sometimes wonder what possesses these people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I mean, you know, it's a good thing that we think that, because it's just not normal. It's not behavior that should be, you know, executed in society.
Yeah, and there's actually, I saw Yellow Flash posted a video about Bud Light, about how they're taking more and more L's, Bud Light, which I don't drink anyway. I've heard people say Bud Light is piss. Let me see. I saw the video pop up when I was at work today. I'm sure I'll find it, but just like, what are these people thinking? And I'm not sure if you're someone who drinks. I personally don't like the taste of alcohol. I tried some alcohol in Turks and Caicos recently. I did not like it.
Yeah, I'm a bit like Jeremy. It's just none of that stuff.
Yeah,
So we've got some more data to go over when it comes to Anheuser-Busch and the fiasco they put themselves in. This has been going on for 3 months. And it's not stopping. In fact, I think that this might be permanent. Isn't it kind of crazy, though, that something like Barbie will explode and everyone will still go see that? But when it comes to beer, people put their foot down. Entertainment, though, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's really mind-boggling, to be honest. But anyway, the damage is still done to Anheuser-Busch, and I don't see things changing for them. This might be a permanent brand damaging move for them. So I talked about this a few days ago, the fact that a couple of restaurants and bars were out there saying, hey, our sales are dipping. Well, now you have a more concentrated study confirming what those bars were saying, that Bud Light has fallen from first to fourth when it comes to getting some spirits for your night out on the town. Bud Light fell from first place to fourth place behind Miller Lite, Michelob Ultra, and Coors Light.
I've never heard of any. I might have heard of a couple of them, like Miller Lite. I've never heard of a couple of those other brands. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I can't say I've heard many of those as well, but yeah, the entire thing is just absolutely insane.
And you heard Dylan Mulvaney. She is now in Peru. What? And the whole thing was, I didn't feel safe there. Well, obviously, people aren't happy that you're being on the beer. It's something like yeah, and I know we're all over the place, but this is important because this should show you the consequences for going woke. You're even like a big company like Anheuser-Busch is going to suffer, and we were talking about Disney earlier. Disney are not invincible as they like to think they are. They are not.
Yeah, because ultimately, when the money starts, draining, they're gonna have to change their game. Otherwise, they'll be done.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. We'll continue, but I just want to get. Are you looking forward to the Ahsoka show or not?
I haven't seen any of the Disney Plus Star Wars shows. I haven't seen Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. I haven't seen any of that.
Yeah, and people say Filoni is going to be the savior of Star Wars. No.
Well, what is your stand on it? Because I know some people absolutely despise Clone Wars and Rebels. Other people like them. Have you seen those?
Well, I grew up watching Star Wars, the Clone Wars. I grew up as a kid watching the Filoni Clone Wars. I watched Rebels. I didn't think Rebels was very good. I thought Clone Wars was good, and to be honest, I thought that Ahsoka's story should have ended I think it should have just ended at season 5, the Clone Wars in general. Both that and Ahsoka's story.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Clone Wars, but there's no denying that, Anakin as a character is totally different in that compared to, if you watch Clone Wars in between episodes 2 and 3, totally different. Because in the movies, Hayden Christensen portrays this very sort of brooding, angry, person in solitude, but in the Clone Wars he's sort of happy-go-lucky, he's jumping everywhere, he's friendly with everyone, so the characterization is definitely off there. But I mean, I can kind of bury that and sort of accept it for what it is, just because of it's what we do as fans. Sometimes you do have to. I know that it was made with the love and care, so I can accept it.
Yeah, my only problem is that Ahsoka shouldn't be around. She should be dead at the most. At the least she should just be off in hiding somewhere. Like, I don't know what this whole obsession Filoni has with Ahsoka not wanting to kill her off. Like, apparently they were supposed to introduce a multiverse to Star Wars, which at this point it's already a dead property.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about the future of it anymore. I think when it comes to Star Wars, Marvel, whatever it may be, we sort of have our own sort of end points, whether that's Endgame or, the end of the prequels being the end of Star Wars, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and what's
just pretty
continue this, because after that, I think we should actually get into Star Trek, which a couple of days ago I commented on a post about that Star Trek musical, which that looks awful. The Star Trek
it looks like an absolute embarrassment.
Musical, like, I watched some of the old series when I was a kid. It just happened to be on, and last year when I was in South Carolina, the Next Generation just happened to, a couple episodes happened to be on. I watched like one of them. I forgot which one it was, but that looked actually good. The original and the Next Generation from the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I've only just recently started watching Star Trek. I've done some streams with some other Trekkies, but I've seen all the original series. I'm halfway through Next Generation, and so I've sort of got a good idea of what Star Trek is and what it should be as a brand. And just seeing that, I can fully empathize with all the lifelong Trek fans because it looks nothing like Star Trek.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a sort of kid show, but with all adults. It looks awful.
Yeah, that was similar with me in the Halo show. Like, I was a big Halo fan growing up as well. I was huge. Halo 3 was like my favorite, and I see this Halo series and Master Chief's. This isn't Master Chief. Master Chief does not take his helmet off.
Yeah, once again, it's Hollywood deconstructing a character, but they're not breaking down what's great about it. They're just turning it into shit, literally. Because these writers, I know when people say that these writers don't know anything about the franchise, people say that's over exaggeration. But when you see them writing these characters and they're nothing like what they are in the source material, I mean, it's just clear evidence that they've had no experience with the games or books, whatever it may be, and they don't understand this character. They just see it as someone in which they can self-insert.
That's the whole thing. The self-insert that these people, I hate it when they insert themselves, because like what's being said on FNT, these actors are really not interesting people in real life. We're not here to see Chris Evans. We're here to see Captain America.
Yeah, whenever actors start talking about their own lives, you just dip out from an interview or whatever it may be, because I mean, for the most part as well, you have two roads that it goes down. So one, they're not being honest. They're just telling you what they think you want to hear when it's not even that. But also as well, these people nowadays are no longer interesting, because back in the day, people would be of a sort of older age and then go into acting. But nowadays, you have these 18-year-olds who then go off to university, and then they leave university and just go into acting. So they have no real experience. So when that shows in their acting as well, because you have to go through things as people, as humans, in order to be able to convey that on the screen. And they've been through nothing. They've been through no struggle. They haven't had to do anything. So when they're trying to act this out on the screen, it comes across as totally disingenuous.
Like with me, obviously I work a job. I'm not sure about you, if you work like a regular job or not. If you don't want to comment.
Yeah, I feel like, I would consider what I do that as well. I mean, ultimately the end goal is, of course, the content creation, that sort of thing, but I would say what I do currently at the moment does fall under that category.
Yeah, I do this, which is for fun. Then I also work an actual job at a place actually near me. Yeah, I'm not going to disclose because I know that there are some, I don't know which crazy leftist is going to try and dox the location, try and get me fired. So I'm not going to. I'm going to be careful about that, because this is the business, I'll just say, is family owned.
Yeah, and it's best to not go into that then.
Yeah, it definitely, because you just see because they are so drained, like what you're bringing up at the beginning when you're talking about the when you woke up, you're like, why are people so critical of when you don't say you don't like this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like some people will go absolutely during. Like I didn't like the last Jedi, and I heard, and I remember that I kind of got a taste of it. I kind of got a taste of people saying, "Listen," and if you, I'm not sure what channels. Perhaps I discovered some of the current creators back then, but I just didn't follow them in depthly back then until 2020, obviously. But it was the same thing. You're called an ism. You're called a Nazi. Like people, like those terms have been used so much you can't even define what a Nazi is, and that's tragic given what happened to Britain during World War II with the Blitz.
Yeah, absolutely. These words have no meaning anymore. They're thrown around by people who have no clue what they mean, and they even prove it themselves that they have no clue what it means, because you always hear in the news that they've redefined some term. And the reason they've redefined it is because they don't know what it actually means in the first place. So they just want to claim it so that they can be the ones that can use it, and no one else is able to use it against them.
Yeah, and in fact, they're acting more like the fascists and the Nazis. These people, I mean, that's literally what Nazis did. They outlawed public speaking, and they said that if you don't agree with us and our policies and our racial policies, then you're a threat to the regime. That's what all these regimes do, and look at that. They're literally parodying it.
Yeah, I mean, here in the UK, a famous actor who's sort of gone into the sort of politics side, someone threw a pride flag into his garden, into his private property, and he decided to discard it. And he got investigated for a hate crime. So if you think about that in terms of like, you know, so he's literally just said, I don't agree with this flag, and now he's been investigated by the police. Like, again, what you were saying, if you go into one of the, you know, historic socialist states, and you sort of disrespect the regime, the flag, whatever it may be, like, you know, you could do that in like China, North Korea, they will literally take action against you, and that's what's happened. So, and we're seeing it. I mean, these things don't happen overnight, and anyone who has their eyes opened even a little bit should be scared about what's happening. I mean, you have all these sort of banks go into total like cashless systems. I mean, you don't get any physical notes anymore. It's just literally digits on a screen.
Yes.
And once it isn't in your hand, once there's no coins or notes, whatever it is, there's no value there, because they can literally just turn off your account like that. It will literally just take one person to click one button to just get rid of all your money, and it's worrying.
Yeah, and especially in Europe with the cost of living and housing crisis, and given how much money they're giving to the Ukrainians, and how much the people and how much the politicians in the US, the UK, and across Europe, Canada have discarded their own people, just said, we're not going to care about you. We only care about our money laundering.
Yeah, I mean, here in the UK, the leading party is the so-called Conservative Party, but they're not. I mean, just yesterday, I think they announced they're giving £150 million to Turkey to build a train track. I mean, that's totally worth it. We've been giving like Ukraine $3 trillion a year, or whatever stupid number it is. It's ridiculous, you know. And to be quite honest, I don't think any of that's going to the actual cause that they're promoting.
No.
It's being thrown around. It's being thrown around to members of certain, you know, governments in different countries.
Yeah. And also the British ministers, they say, well, if Russia does, the UK, I've learned, your country nor my country are ready for a war, really. We've exhausted most of our stockpiles in Ukraine, and the Ukrainians they're talk about this big offensive, which has not amount to really anything from my research.
Yeah, I mean, here in the UK, we've just every single year the military's just been decreasing. Literally, you'd be surprised if you go into it. The military in the UK is absolutely so tiny, or the types of weapons we have, the vehicles, and I mean, if you look in the US as well, I mean, I believe one of the generals in the US military is some like I don't even know what it is. It's something they've had a bunch of stuff done to them. All they go on is about their pronouns.
Yes,
I mean, we need tough people in these positions who are willing to, make these tough choices, because, they are like the line of defense when it comes to invasions and war.
I'm thinking about all the, like, Churchill and how he literally stood out at night during the London Blitzes, or I remember in a old BBC, it was World War II in color, I think, where he visited the front of North Africa right after he had a heart attack. And it's like Britain's missing some of that. Britain used to be the biggest empire in the world. They used to be proud to be British at that time. And I guess nowadays, the Royal Navy, that glorious Royal Navy, what's happened?
I mean, yeah, it's practically non-existent at this point, and it just comes into the hypocrisy of everything. When we see these sort of diversity and inclusivity, these multiculturalism programs, they don't actually want to be multicultural. They actually want to be monocultural. What they want to do is, when you think of the baseline definition of, diversity and multicultural, you think, okay, loads of different cultures being able to exist, at the same time. But they never seem to actually want to do that. What they do is they promote what their idea of life is, and then try and discredit yours, because they'll say it's rooted in, supremacy and all this stuff. So they actually just want dominance. It's not about acceptance. It's about dominance. And that's what it's always been about. And I mean, if no one believes that, then just say to them, okay, try and say something against these types of people, this group of thinking, and you'll be like arrested for a hate crime. It's absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, I'm thinking that makes me remind me, because there was a political purge in the Soviet Union in the 30s. Stalin purged most of his military, and the only officers he had were just politically loyal yes men who didn't know what they were doing. The only reason he wanted them was because they were politically loyal. And then when the Germans come rolling around in June of 41, they're able to easily beat the Soviet army, and by November they're almost at the gates of Moscow. Like, that should be a warning sign. That was not meant to be an instruction guide. That's meant to be a warning sign.
Yeah, I mean, all these things nowadays, it appears as if it's some, like 1984. That wasn't supposed to be non-fiction.
Dinner's ready.
Oh, that was my sister. Dinner's ready. So, fortunately, it looks like we're going to have to end this shorter than I wanted it to, if that's okay with you.
That's fine. I think we've had a great conversation.
Yeah, I think I've got to get you back on again. I'll have you on with. Heck, I even have to get to my friend Danny, who was on one of my shows. We'll have a panel with you and Danny at some point, and we'll just discuss whatever the latest topic is.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Where can they find you?
Golden Age Geek, the name that is on the screen right now, on YouTube, Rumble, whatever it may be.
All right. As you can see, pray for Alec McCarthy and Brian James. I'm going to leave that there until both individuals, I know that they are in well-being. I mean, we know what happened with Alex McCarthy. The surgery went wrong, and Brian James got the Fauci-ouchie, and yeah. All I have to say is goodbye, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.